Hi, I am Ser Styles, and this is A State of Consciousness. A State of Consciousness is a podcast about mental health in the music industry, but the matters we discuss and the ways to improve mental health or safeguard it are hopefully ways that can be used by people inside but also outside the music industry. My guest today is fLO, who is one of my favorite artists to ever worked with and generally hung out with. From the United States, but she's going to tell us more about herself. Hi, Ida. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you, my friend. Yes, indeed, I am fLO, house vocalist, songwriter, performing artist. I do many other genres. I feel as though I'm always going to be limitless in that expression, as it should be. Grew up in San Francisco, currently in Brooklyn, where I reside now with my fiance and two Maine Coon cats. And here to talk about what's really important, which is our self-care, our mental wellness, our overall well-being. And I'm really happy to be here to discuss it with you, my friend.
Excellent. Let's get through a bit of introduction about you. So tell us about your journey from where you started to where you are now in the music industry.
Yeah, so I actually started as a performing artist, primarily in dance. Actually, I studied dance at a very young age, and then piano, and then voice. So it went in that order. In San Francisco. And then around 11, I started to kind of branch out. I went away from the choir and started to explore my own sound. I noticed there was something there that I needed to really listen to and tune into. Started writing at 11, working with fellow musicians around my age. And getting out of high school, I had one goal, which was to become a performing artist and a pop artist. Actually, that was the goal at the very start at 18. And finding the type of support during school was challenging. It was always outside of my school institution to study, to train, and to explore this art form. And when I got out of that institution and tried to find a way in which I could continue my education, it was a little bit more of a challenge than I anticipated, primarily around the kind of the source of how I was going to financially support that endeavor. And so, what happened instead was I got a job at Nike Town and started working with the community that I'd built as I was training in throughout the years. And started to share my personal work. And that would be in 2011. Actually, was the first time that I released my first album, and it was a pop dance album called The Exhibition. And it was with a dear friend of mine, and their support was incredible at the time, because I only had myself and my family really that saw what I saw, if that makes sense. And with that support, I was able to really explore deeper what indeed that feeling that I had that had to get out and expressed and shared with the world was. And with that release, I started to perform. I actually got a couple of residencies in San Francisco, performed almost every weekend for a diverse group of people, and felt really, really, really fortunate to have that initial support at the first year of kind of really launching my career as a pop artist. Then I found myself again at this point of challenge, which was how do I financially back this next phase of my career? And again, was met with difficulty. And I was financially backing myself for the most part, and really had no other options. And so all I did was continue working. I was actually also teaching as a dance teacher through a few youth programs and also some schools. And that was over the course of 15 years. I taught thousands of students performing arts and dance in particular, which was such a joy and a treat. And I learned so much along the way. And that was really supporting my career. And that brings me to then moving to London, because I found myself in this place where I was feeling stagnant. There was this stagnation that kind of washed over me, and I wasn't sure which way to turn. And I said, I need to get to an area in which there's more people doing what I'm doing, and especially in the genre and industry that I'm in. And so I moved to London, and that's when I met Kasim. And Kasim and I hit it off immediately and released a song together on Glasgow Underground. And then I moved back to San Francisco several months later, and that rotation, that song release like wildflower, started to hit points of interest in different areas around the world with different musicians that really connected with the work and my voice, and started this kind of beautiful welcoming to house music. And then from there, I started to recognize that house was always with me in my inspiration, in what really connected to my heart and soul. It is all pure joy. It is all things that are beautiful, that we celebrate in house. And so I started to collaborate a lot with, international artists, DJs, producers, and I also got the chance to finally meet you, my friend, at some point along that journey. Releasing hundreds of songs. I mean, in the last, 3.5, 4 years, I've released almost 200 songs. All of those songs I've written myself. There's only maybe 2 or 3 that I did as a request of a friend as a cover. But every song that you've ever heard of mine, I've written, recorded in my house as a vocal engineer, and released in collaboration with the producers and DJs that I've mentioned before. And you find yourself, with all this body of work and feeling really grateful for that, those achievements. And yet I still find myself in this financial challenge. And I find myself still trying to figure out how I'm going to go support my family and myself and keep a roof over my head and have food on the table. And I have to figure out really creative ways to keep going. And that is, I think, where I find myself in this moment, and recognizing that this has been following me for a long time. And no matter how talented you are, no matter how gifted you are, no matter how determined you are, how hardworking, that this can still be something that you are met with, that there still can be something that you can overcome. And so it really is the point of mastery, for me, that really creates this kind of illusion that things will never change, right? That there will never be this evolution from the artist that is always struggling to just do what they love. And not only just do what they love, but I feel like a lot of people have this misconception of doing what you love as a selfish act. And it's absolutely not. It is absolutely not. Without art, where is beauty? Where is belonging? Where is purpose? Where is intention? Where is meaning? We need artists. We need creatives. And yet we are still struggling to survive, to bring this into the world. So it has brought me to this place where I'm now really passionate about exploring all the ways in which we can support one another in being formidable amidst these challenges, in continuing on and not succumbing to defeat in some way, feeling defeated and succumbing to it and saying, that's it. And finding ourselves in the kind of the darkness of it. But there's still so much that we are capable of. And so I'm in this new passion of mine to be a coach, to be a movement guide, to be someone that can support not only myself, but others heal through this and achieve what they seek to achieve in this lifetime. That's the full background of fLO to now.
Okay, great. That has a lot to unpack, so I'm going to try to take them apart one by one. We can get into them a bit to get to the whole thing, yeah?
Sure.
So, having moved in so many different styles of music, and having moved in so many different locations, and having worked with so many people, do you believe that generally the music industry, it doesn't matter if it's about pop or dance or it's not about the genre, that generally the people within it have the tendency, the instinct to support each other, to hold each other and push them up? Or do you think that they can be a bit more indifferent and maybe not supportive of each other?
It's a great question, and it's also a complex one. I think at the heart of all of us, we want to support one another, that we are made to be a village, a community. That is my baby's ahead, wondering where mama is, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm in an interview, okay? Chill. Speaking of family and community, that's at the heart of us, right? Yet we, in our own unique experiences, they are very individual, and how we respond to them are indeed also individual. And so our perspective, our view is going to be different, all predicated on our experiences up until now, right? And so, for example, myself, I've had the opportunity to become a part of a performing arts community. So I, in a sense, had some form of support, right? I had a support system. Not only that, I had my family. My family is absolutely brilliant. I have both my parents with me, my sister and my brother. Like, these four individuals have been incredibly important in my ecosystem of support. And so I have had examples and representation of what that feels and looks like and what it can do. And so I have a different relationship with what support is for my community. If there is an individual who has unfortunately not had that experience and has felt as if they can only do it themselves because of it, their approach to community is going to be different. They're going to see individuals as access points and transactional. And it is just so they can get to the next phase of their growth, vision, goal. And that's it. And then there's some people in between, right? So you have these various ways that people in the music industry and in wider industries, right? Because we are all humans doing, right? That have a different approach and relationship to support. And what I so wish for is, even though you have had whatever experience you have had, that you see the value in community, that you cannot do it alone. You just cannot. And if we could do it alone, we'd all have our own individual planets. Right?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah. Okay, so if we're taking you as an example in what you said, do you think that someone who has experienced support positively, like you described, from your family, can, wherever they are, being away from their support system, manifest that or create that or surround themselves with people, but do it consciously, that support them?
Yes, I mean, I'm an example of that, because I've moved away from my core support system, not once, not twice, but 3, 4 times, and have had to lean into that opportunity, seeing it as an opportunity to cultivate community. Without me seeing it as an opportunity, I don't believe I would have been able to. And it is really about paying attention and having clear intention before you can manifest anything. I think sometimes we say manifestation is just something that you think of and then it becomes real. There's something in between there that's really important, and that's action. The universe requires action. And if you are moving in that direction, wherever your energy goes, so does it flow. And so if you are an individual seeking to build community, then it is not so simple as just going out and doing it. I understand, right? We all have our different personalities. We have our different characteristics. We all have our different comfortabilities. But the reality is that it can be done in stages. It can be done in small, sweet steps. The minute you connect with someone, introduce yourself, share what you do, share your passion. Most importantly, don't keep that back. How in the world will they know what you do and want to support you if you don't share? And at that point, you can then to build a connection. It doesn't have to be a full body group of people. Focus on the 1, 2, 3 people that you really have a connection with. And that will be the magic that sparks, because then that individual will think of someone else that might be interested in the work that you're doing, or just simply vibe with you. And because you've created that really beautiful, strong connection with that one individual or the second individual, they are inspired to work within that inspiration and build community with you. And it is something that takes practice. It takes continued action. It takes follow through, right? And it's not always going to be as immediate. You just have to continue to move forward in that direction, that intention that you have set for yourself, and see where it takes you.
If someone is on the other side of the spectrum of this example and hasn't really experienced support in their life,
Yep.
and they have to deal with these stresses you've described throughout your life, which we've all gone through being artists, the insecurity, the financial stresses, the worries about all the work we've done and what's going to happen to it. Can you suggest a few ways that they can use to solidify themselves, make them feel more whole, more safe with themselves, and better to not be overwhelmed by the way life hits us as everyone else?
Yeah. I wish we all had access to some tools that would support all of us, no matter our experience. And, throughout our lifetime, the course of our lifetime, we tend to learn these things as we age. One is having a practice that is consistent, that is unwavering, because the reality is life is full of unexpected turns. And so if we're able to create something for ourselves that is like the roots of a tree in the soil, it can keep us grounded. It can remind us of who we are, and allow us to come back to center. And so, for example, one of the practices that are important to me that help me regulate, and if I do not, I know I haven't, because I'm having trouble regulating when something a difficulty is arisen. So one is waking up and doing a breath, a prayer, and a meditation. I do all three. It's really important for me to do all three, right? And that's me greeting the day. That's me greeting the sun. That's me taking 10 minutes to breathe and to meditate. And then I pray. And what I pray for, and it's not exactly what I pray for, it's really what I pray of, and that is gratitude. I think of all of the things that I have right now that I'm grateful for. And it may seem to be this thing that people say, and it's like, there's something really, really important about that. Because what we do naturally is look at what we don't have first and foremost, or what we are trying to achieve that isn't in front of us now, right? We're constantly reaching for things that are not with us in this moment, which takes us away from being fully present to what we have. And that is so important to recognize, to acknowledge, and to find a way to fully be with what you have. And it can be the smallest thing. I am so grateful for those 2 cats downstairs, because they love me like nobody else. And so do I love them. And that love makes me emotional in this moment. And I just go, wow, they remind me of what's important. That is everything to me, right? And so that's what I'm grateful for every day. That's one thing that I'm grateful for every day. And of course, my fiance above all else, I'm so grateful for, because again, they remind me of what's most important. And that keeps me going. So just finding a practice, or you could call it a ritual, but something that is consistent, that keeps you grounded, that brings you back to the present moment and reminds you of what you have, will be one beautiful way. And there's many others, but I think that's one way you can start to just find a root in your work, in what you're doing, in your purpose that you can hold on to.
I love that you said that, because there is a study in psychology called positive psychology, which speaks specifically to the advantages of gratitude. And one of the main one it describes is that the hormone excreted in the brain by gratitude is the number one hormone that resists and lowers the stress hormone in the brain. It's the strongest one to stand against the stress hormone in the brain. What I wanted to ask is, I'm going to take a tangent. You've described a few issues. Yeah, you've described situations in your life, in your career, where music was not giving you, and you don't know if it's going to give you back the things you want. In like, we talked about the financial part, which is important. Okay, among other things. And my question is: has ever the stress or the constant feedback that it can't support you financially the way it should, and it's not reflecting of the work you've done, or the type of passion and soul you've put into it, has it ever made you say, you know what, I quit?
Styles, yes. That is a great question. I think I've gotten very near, but never saying I quit. It might be because I'm very stubborn.
I mean, I didn't see it.
Yeah, well, you didn't say it, neither did anyone else, right? I am, but I see that as a gift, because it has allowed me to stay really I think these last 4 years in particular have really pushed me to that near experience of wanting to try something else, because this is so damn difficult. you know and there's this question that you have, it's like, am I forcing something here? Is there a more easeful approach to living your life and being able to simply just live comfortably, right? um but the reality is, it's every time I've said that to myself, I find myself almost disappearing in that process. Like, the who I am without it, I have no answer. And two things. One, challenge you cannot avoid. You just cannot avoid in life. It is a part of life. So with that understanding, with recognizing that truth, you have to ask yourself, and this is what I ask myself, all right, if challenge is inevitable, why not do what I love? Why not be who I am? And so anytime I've gotten near, I've reminded myself of that. And what I hear when I'm in that reminder is my voice of wisdom, because my voice of wisdom is calm. It is harmonious. It is kind. It is loving. It is gentle. The monkey mind that you'll hear when you meet a challenge is anxious. It is fearful. It is worrisome. And that's when you know the difference, and which one is seeking to protect and which one is seeking to allow you to become limitless in your life. And I myself and everyone else that has a beating heart, 2 legs and 2 arms, or a combination of others, we have a monkey mind and we have a hero's heart. And those two things will always exist within ourselves. So the reality is when I've met each challenge, that stubbornness is really just my voice of wisdom saying, you've got this. There is nowhere else you need to be but right here and experiencing this challenge and overcoming it, because you are meeting your points of mastery, these points in which you are becoming a master in that area, whatever that is. And it's going to be the most difficult. However, on the other side of that, there's so much fruit and sweetness. And then you'll just move on to the next one, right? So it's this kind of embrace of, all right, these are the challenges that are going to be here with me. And the fact is there's something there with finances that I still need to work with. There's this energy of the money that I still need to work with. And instead of saying it's directly like a result of my choice of career, it just doesn't feel or sit right with me. Because then you see these beautiful artists and musicians that are celebrating their life in such a beautiful way and succeeding. Right? So it is possible. They are living, breathing everything that I'm working toward. Right? So I have this beautiful representation in front of me. It is possible. So I've just been in this moment of recognizing that as well and saying, all right, there's something here that I need to work with, not something I need to throw to the wayside or push away or say that's enough, I quit.
Are you the kind of person that can use negative experiences into a motivator for what you want to achieve?
Ooh. Yeah. I'm known for that. I'm known for that. I've seen it as more of an opportunity. It's also brought a lot of fire in me because I know. I'm like, nah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, man. Like I just feel it. I feel it. So there's just like no holding back, you know? When I was younger, I was even more fearless, you know? I just didn't have any question. And of course, things happen as you grow and you know, you become a responsible adult and you have these things that you have to think about, blah blah blah. And so there's more worry, and you know, you think twice, thrice, 15 times about that decision before you actually make it. That's just part of life. But there's still something in me that's like, mm-mm, mm-mm. And I have been fortunate enough, indeed, as I said, to grow up in a family, in an environment that allowed me to look at challenge as opportunity, and not a sentence to something to fear.
Can you share with us what is the thing that you use that helps you switch the negative into a positive?
Yes. So a few things happen. First thing that comes is a flood of anxiety, right? um, there's a variety of things that work for me. One would be playing music and dancing. Because what's happening is my thoughts or whatever's happening in the external world that I'm responding to is physically manifesting in my body, creating the feeling of anxiety in which I start to feel heaviness in my chest, sickness to my stomach, right? So these physical expressions of what I'm feeling or experiencing are taking over. And so the first thing that I try is playing some music that is joyous. It can be anything. It can really be anything that really kind of allows you to find some equilibrium. For me, it's Afro pop music. That's a vibe for me. Put that on and I'll dance. And that will work sometimes, not all the time. And that's okay. Then there is this second, when that's not working, there's a second option, a second approach that I take that is is something that I recently have learned through some of my coaching training that I'm in. It's ontological coaching. So it is actually the study of being. And one thing that really has stuck with me in these last 2 months is if you can see it, you don't have to be it. And so a thought or a fear or a worry, right, will come into your foreview, right? You'll be sitting with that. And what will happen is you will naturally be it. And so you feel like you're not enough, or you feel like there's no way out, right? You'll start to feel that way. And so you become that way, and then you behave that way. And that's your conclusion. And once it's your conclusion, it's how everything else will respond to your energy and to your presence. Instead, it's about looking at that, saying, thank you for those thoughts. Thank you for that monkey mind that's trying to protect me. And instead saying, noticing that that's just a thought. That's not you. And even in that slight difference between not being it and just looking at it, just observing, allowing yourself to observe the thought, has really allowed me to just then kind of get that out of my body, and then be able to take actions necessary, really, really allow myself to then take the actions necessary to move forward, to move beyond that point of challenge.
Okay, then can you please also suggest other ways of movement that can help someone going through something heavy mentally?
Well, so just simply knowing that, your experience is physically manifesting in your body is really important to know. First and foremost, that's what's happening. And you can take a moment and what I do with some of the people that I work with is first attuning. So you can play music or without music, anything in the background that feels calming, playing that at a level that suits, and allowing yourself to really just sit or stand, close your eyes, and just breathe. And as you breathe, you can do a body scan and notice where indeed you're feeling what you're feeling. Where, first and foremost, right? And if you recognize, all right, I'm starting to notice these areas in my shoulder blades and in my shoulders and neck that I'm feeling the most tension, right? And usually we hold a lot of our stress here. And if that's kind of where everything is kind of sitting, now, all right, this is the area that I need to pour a little love into. And you can, with that body's wisdom, right? Your body is talking to you all the time. The reality is it is the most intelligent biocomputer. It is always wanting to serve you, to support you, to heal. You cut your finger, you don't tell it to heal, right? It heals. So one thing to recognize too is your body is your best friend. It is not fighting against you. It's with you in every experience and really wants to serve you and help you and support you. And so when you do your body scan, when you notice the area that needs a little bit of love, that's your body talking to you and you talking to it. And so you can start to then notice, all right, shoulders, let's roll them, right? Just simple movement, right? You can even allow your head, rest your hand on your head and stretch this part of the neck and do the other one. Don't force it, right? And soon you'll start to notice that you are coming back to just the simplicity of it all, that it can be addressed, that you can move through it. You don't have to stick in it. You don't have to, it's not something that can't go away. And the reality is you're not trying to push it away and it never come back. You're trying to work with it because there's something there. There's wisdom there. And there's something to be learned, right? So when you work with the vessel, when you work with what's going on in your self energy, you can find yourself in a place that is is empowered, as I said, is empowered to do what you need in that moment and to know what to do. There's many more tools and resources, but I mean, naturally we think of going to, you know, going to do some form of physical activity. You'll notice that if you do a physical activity, you notice that your mood has changed. There's a reason for that, right? And so anything that you notice, you can even start to write down like things that bring you joy, things that kind of uplift you. If that's the thing that is going to allow you to come back to your center and recalibrate, write it down and remember it, because in that moment that you're having a stressful and anxiety provoking moment, you can access that as your resource. It's right there at your fingertips. You can take an action towards it. And remember, in each step towards that action, be patient and be kind and be loving. Don't feel like, I didn't do that today, right? Or I should have done that. Like that's the opposite of what you want to do. You want to just take one small sweet step at a time. I've said it earlier. It's so important. Just take your time, but remember that you have this tool and this resource at your fingertips, and that you're simply, you're so capable. You're so capable. That's such an important reminder to say out loud twice. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. I'm gonna pinch on that and come from where we started, and I'm gonna ask you, how do you convince yourself? How do you tell yourself to be patient and be kind to yourself or to everyone and everything when you're faced with realities like the one you described in the beginning, that no matter the amount of hard work and passion and soul you've put into music, into your career, um, the number one thing that most people need in any department to feel more relaxed, which is seeing a financial outcome of your work, is not happening, because for artists is one of the most difficult things to quantize, and that's why in so many cases it's not reflective to what they do or how much they worked on, of what they've achieved. So
Yeah.
how do you stay patient and kind?
Well, it's not always. Let's be real. Just yesterday I wasn't, right? And that's okay. The reality is like we don't give ourselves patience. And so because we don't, we are hard on ourselves. And then we are even harder on ourselves. And then we are even harder on ourselves. Do you see what I'm saying? So it is not just like a quick fix that just like, boop, I'm patient and I'm done. And I've that's it. Right. And that's when I've succeeded at being kind and patient to myself. Right. That's unrealistic. The reality is you're going to have moments that are just going to be like, okay, I feel like shit. And I wasn't even kind to myself in that moment. Then you have to ask yourself, all right, am I going to keep feeling like shit because I didn't do what I said I was going to do? Or am I going to be willing to try again? So that's first and foremost, right? And what I do on a daily basis, it's like, I'm not always in this, optimistic place. I go up and down. That is the truth. I go up and down a lot, but I come back up, right? I am willing to try again. That is the difference. And so when it comes to the finances and the reality is, it's like my bank account is not a clear representation of my gifts. That's the honest truth. And I know that. I can either accept that or I can become more creative with the way in which I approach it, because I'm not happy without being who I am. I'm just not happy. I've tried saying music will deprioritize you for a moment and I'll just start making money. Didn't work. It didn't make me enough and I still was unhappy. Right? I don't have a solution for all of us. A lot of us are going to have challenge after challenge, and that is it is so frustrating to know that, to be with that reality every day. And all I want to fight for is and advocate for is that we fucking matter. And we are the most valuable and we should be the most funded. Point blank, bottom line. And there's a future out there where we are, you know, there's a future out there that we are. If we are willing to fight for that future, figure out a fucking way to work together as a community to advocate for each other and to push that effort forward. If it's not in our lifetime, hopefully it will be in the next. You feel me? And in the meantime, let's figure out a way to fucking rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? Do what we love. Take no shit. Know our worth, know our value. Advocate for ourselves and each other as much as we possibly can.
So supporting each other is not only going to be beneficial on individual, personal, and mental level, but it could really help us as an industry worldwide and as a category of people, artists, maybe not just musicians or who have to do with dance music. It would generally help us set up some great basis for, if not ourselves, at least the future of our industry.
100%.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, these are my questions for today, and I want to thank you very much for coming. I want you to tell us where someone can find your work as an artist, or if they need some help from a coach, where they could reach out to you.
Yeah. So thank you for asking. So website is officialidaflo.com. Official spelled normally. IDAFLO is the artist name. You can find me on Spotify, on any streaming platform. I'm all over. Different music on different platforms. Of course, Spotify has the widest range of my music. Again, Ida Flo. And if you're interested in actually coaching, currently my movement coaching site is up. It's Intuitive Flow, INTUITIVFLO.com. Intuitive Flow. And you can certainly book a session with me. It's a free consultation where we get together and you can just catch the vibe, what I'm all about, what the work is about, see if it resonates with you. And that is indeed complimentary. And if you seek to do more of that work, we can schedule from there. And just find me on socials, Officially to Flow on Instagram. I'm on there mostly, and would love to connect with all of you. I so appreciate you, Styles, for having me. It's such a joy and a treat. And I really, really look forward to seeing where all of this goes.
Thanks a lot. This was Ida Flo for A State of Consciousness. I am Sir Styles here from the studios in Lemoni Radio in Nicosia. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and help spread and share the message as far and wide as possible. I'll catch you at the next one. Ciao.